a couple of minutes. By the way, this is Eric McHenry, International President. I am obviously have far too much time on my hands, so I've been playing around with the avatar functionality in Zoom and Teams. But I think for tonight, we'll go back to basics. Although I got to say, it's nice being sort of on and sort of off camera. Okay, we're on the hour. I want to welcome you to our, I would guess, our second year of what we're calling our Campfire Chats. Lori Plummer and I. Lori Plummer is our corporate manager down there, at least in my screen beneath me. So hi, Lori.
Hello, everybody.
Lori and I started this in Maine, obviously face-to-face, and it's become a popular method for interacting with our members. It's one of the, I would say, positives of the pandemic and Zoom area, where we understand now how we can reach out to our members and have discussions. As far as discussions go, we usually end up having about 100 to 150 people each session, so it's a bit problematic to have live questions. So please type your questions into the chat. Christy Yanyan, Christy, if you could unmute your video for a bit, I'd appreciate that. Christy's our marketing manager for the club. She also resides in Jackson Center with Lori and about 4 other people there. So there's about 5.5 people in Jackson Center that provide the support for our 18,000 members. So they're doing a fantastic job. Christy's going to be taking a look at our chats and helping us sort of aggregate them. We have a record of the chats afterward. And so if there's something that we forget to address, we will do it by email later. But type your chats in. I've shared this with a lot of people, and if you've been on these before, you'll understand that Lori and I will answer every question we can. There are a few questions that are confidential or private, but very, very few. So feel free to ask whatever you want, and we will answer it to our best of our ability. I'm going to start off, though, with sharing with you what I think was just really exciting news. So I was just back in Columbus, Ohio, which is about an hour north, I don't know, north, south, south of Jackson Center.
Southeast, yeah.
The Airstream team, and that being Bob Wheeler, the CEO, Justin Humphreys, the VP of Sales, Molly Hansen, their Chief Marketing Officer, invited us to come talk at their dealers meeting. The dealers meeting is held once a year, and Airstream Inc., as we call it, the factory, they bring all of their worldwide dealers in, and they spend 3 or 4 days with the dealers going over a bunch of topics. At the end, they give out awards. The 5 Rivet Awards for service, and by the way, they did this service first. Service is a big deal for Airstream Inc., by the way. The top service awards for the dealerships, they give out awards for top sales, secondly, and they also gave out awards for overall dealerships. But the cool thing is that we were invited to be part of the, I don't know, keynote is too strong of a word, but the first few presentations to talk. Before I share with you what I presented, I do want to share with you, because I want all of you to see how it is that we talk about our club when you guys aren't around, and also the benefit that we've positioned ourselves with Airstream Inc. I have to say the dealers were really receptive and very, very happy. As I go into it, though, and I'm going to keep referring back to this, it's something that was a bit of an aha to me. So Airstream Inc., the factory, the manufacturer, they have an incredibly strong focus on what they call customer experience. And they had a speaker talk for about half hour on this topic the first day. And what he described was that in traditional product launches or products, you sell a toaster, you sell a laptop, you sell a whatever, and you understand that, once you sell that thing, the customer's experience with that thing is, by and large over. They use it, they throw it away, they get it fixed. Their perspective is entirely different for Airstreams. They view that customer experience as expanding from advertising, sort of how do you feel about the brand? And we all know it's a luxury brand image. They care about the sales process, and that's why a lot of you will know that Airstream is trying to move to exclusive dealerships. And that's ones, of course, that sell only Airstreams, because when you walk into an Airstream specific dealership, it's kind of a different feel. The people know about the Airstreams. They sell them all the time. they know how to service them. But what's really interesting is that they also view that customer experience as what happens once their customer gets this thing. And as I said a couple of times to people or my president's messages, it's one thing buying this tin can. Well, we know it's aluminum, this really gorgeous thing that we all have, but it's another thing using it. And it's another thing to understand that experience of the Airstream lifestyle. I shared with them a couple of examples how we've all seen it, right? We have someone buy an Airstream, they may leave it on the factory in storage or in a storage facility. They'll go out once or twice a year, and they don't get what most of you get out of owning an Airstream, being part of the club. So Airstream really recognizes this, and they really do consider us part of the family. So I don't usually like to do presentations for this venue, but I'm gonna show, just to flip through a couple of these. Okay, Lori, can you confirm that y'all can see this, please?
Yes, yes, we can.
So I'm just going to leaf through them really quickly, and this is posted somewhere. And in the lower left-hand corner, you'll see that comment. He spoke at one of the first presentations. The gentleman's name is Don Pepper. I love this quote. He says, customer experience can be defined by the totality of a customer's individual interaction with a brand over time. And so I know a lot of us owners, we may say, oh yeah, we bought it, the service was good or not, but Airstream considers all of that, the service and the sales, as part of that customer experience. That's part of the interaction. And so again, my message in blue is that, our club is that invaluable portion of that experience, and we are their partners in that. So there's some slides. It was I don't know, probably 300 people in the room, I guess. And it was just really fun giving a short presentation to them. We shared with them our mission, if you will, right? Sort of being a part of the club means your neighbors never too far away to lend a hand, share an experience, and shoot the breeze. And I know every club member I've spoken to understands that, right? There was an interesting story that we had where a friend of ours was broken down on the side of the road in her trailer, and another one of our members pulled over and said, hey, can I help you, right? That's what's unique about our club. We talked about the changing face of Airstream. And the reason we did this is that Airstream is 91 years old, I believe, right, Lori?
Yeah.
And they want to stay in business another 90 years. And they understand that while some of their clientele, like me, is a senior, there's a lot of people just getting into buying their Airstream for the first time. And they really want to make sure that our club reflects the demographics of the people buying Airstreams now and in the future. That's really important for any organization going to sustain itself. So we're going to talk about the fact that, we're not changing. Our club is the same. We honor long-term members. We honor short-term members. We honor while we buy them. But we understand that to be relevant and sustainable, our club also needs to keep getting new members in and do things that satisfy their interest in being part of the club. We talked about sort of diverse and inclusive. We talked about the fact that we have groups, intra-clubs for Stella Sisters, for women towers, for people like me, Grapes and Grains, Pride Streamers, boondocking. And in fact, I shared with them that we just launched a intra-club for base camps. I believe they're having inaugural rally in Colorado. And a lot of the dealers will tell you the number one selling Airstream is actually the base camps. And if you look at the demographics of people that have base camps, they're probably not at RV parks most of the time, or at least from an aspirational point of view, that's not where they are. And so we're trying to do some groups that the clubs or rallies that really focus on base camps. Throw your kayak, throw your mountain bike, throw your whatever in there, go hiking, go fishing, go in the middle of nowhere. And it's pretty exciting. In fact, I know a lot of people like me who want to take our 30-foot classics down that dirt road in the BLM land. We talked about the fact that one of the things that is a barrier for a lot of new Airstream owners is that they don't know where to go. It's getting more and more complicated to find a spot to camp in the US. We actually have more than 800 events across. So I talked about that. I talked about the newbie rallies. I was really happy to show this picture in the lower right. As you guys have been to national rallies or some of your club or region rallies, we have tire changing seminars, some for everyone, some for women, backup seminars, some for everyone, some for women. And we provide some of these tools for help people to get comfortable using the Airstream. We also talked about the fact that, we love our heritage. We're not the club that we are without our heritage. We talked a little bit about VAC. Vintage Airstream Club. And interesting, a lot of the people who have the vintage units, they are incredibly passionate about Wally Bime and our history. And we recognize that, we carry it forward. It's an important part of our brand as a club. So this is where, if you ever talked to a bunch of salespeople before, and fundamentally the dealers are sales, they want to know, well, that's nice, but what problem does this solve for me? And this is what we believe our partnership with them solves. Because a lot of new owners, when they leave that lot, there's a lot of questions. I shared with them that Laverne and me, we have a 30-foot classic. We got it in January. It's our third Airstream. We've had Airstreams for 14 years. We got the standard 2-hour walkthrough. But I got to tell you, if you have a 2023 classic or a classic trailer, you get home, it's like, wait a minute, what does that button do? How do I turn the Aldi on? Wait a minute. Okay, it's gas. How does electric work? We found out from talking to our club members about how some of these things work. And so we provide that opportunity to help some more on that experience, that post-sales experience. We offer the turnkey opportunities to vacation through our rallies. There's a lot of us experienced people. I've learned a ton. I was just up in Washington Lanyard Harbor, and I was talking to someone who told me something like, oh my gosh, I did not know that. And of course, the community of our Airstream users. So with this new program, and it's called the Airstream Explorer program that most of you hopefully have heard about, Airstream has agreed through a deal that launched July 1st, and we're going to talk about a little bit more later, that each new purchaser of a new Airstream will get a 1-year membership into our club. And that membership, I won't read it, but it's pretty much all of our current member benefits, except for the fact that the Blueberry magazine is digital only. So it's a really good deal. We're starting to launch it. We'll talk some more about that later. It just launched on July 1st. It's only for people that bought new Airstreams. And so the dealers are just learning about it as of a couple of weeks ago. You'll start to hear more about it. Lori, while I switch slides, is there anything you want to share about the Airstream Explorer partnership and how that's going?
Sure. So this has been a long time in the making to make this opportunity for us to work with Airstream Inc. a little bit closer on this program. So it was officially launched on July 1st. The dealers have been made aware of it. They do not have material, as in any kind of marketing materials, in their hands right now. Airstream Inc. is still working on that development. And honestly, I'm pushing on them a little bit to get that done and out to the dealers. So it was a great opportunity when we were in Columbus to talk to the dealers, make sure they knew about the program. And we have a lot of great dealers that already work closely with us. So they're also being cheerleaders with the other dealers that have not worked with us much to express to them what things the club has to offer in the great Airstream community we are, and how we can help those people really learn to love that Airstream. So I'm excited as this thing starts rolling out. We're about 6 weeks in to it. We've had several dozen join through the proper channels. We've seen several dozen that didn't know about it as much as we wish they did. So that, of course, that we're going to have a big campaign on that, working with the dealers of explaining this program, because it's a little different than others in the past, but it's definitely on our list to make happen.
Cool. I see a couple of questions. T.A. Ever says, yes, that is downtown Little Rock. If there was a prize, you'd win it. So Laverne and I, we don't have our favorite clubs because we're Airstream Club International, but we love the Arkansas Razorbacks. We hang out with them all the time. In fact, we're heading down to Arkansas for the Solar Eclipse Rally in April. But yeah, there's a really cool downtown Little Rock Park. It's right off the river. It's just absolutely gorgeous. Milo and Diane, yeah, I haven't been to Nashville, but I could imagine that it might be. Other couple questions. Johnny, you ask about exclusive sales centers and exclusive service centers. Lori, you may want to answer. I think it's the same thing.
Yeah, it is. And Johnny, actually, one of the things Airstream Inc. A majority of this conference with their dealers is focused on service, and they want their dealers to give great service. But it's kind of hard for them too, when you look on the other side, because they don't own those dealers. Other entities own them. So, but they're really structuring their programs to incentivize those dealers to give exceptional service. Again, going back to the customer experience and learning how important every step of the way is. So I do know they're launching new stores, and with those new exclusive stores and the 5 Rivet program, they have to have that 5 Rivet plus other feedback. I forget what the score they call it, to have that 5 Rivet, and that is directly related to how they service as well. So it's a big part of that dealer Rivet program.
And there's some financial incentives also around hitting that level of 5 Rivet, which, So there's a couple questions, Lori, from Linda and David about caravans. Perhaps you could address that.
Yeah. So Linda, I see your note there about caravans. You know, our caravans are amazing, and we do have an exceptionally long list. But let me encourage you to stay on those wait lists. You'd be surprised at sometimes how quickly they move through those. And the caravan leaders, of course, that whole program is run by volunteers. They're all members, and they spend a ton of time. So be confident that you'll get through those lists. And as for the solo travelers, there's 2 different intra clubs. I don't know how long you've been part of Airstream Club, but there's 2 different programs you can look at. One is the Stella Sisters. It's focused on primarily women towers, and then also indie streamers, which is focused on independent streamers. So both those are out there. If you want to throw up your big red number, or if you want to email the office HQ, we can definitely get you connected with both those groups to help you with solo traveling.
Yeah, let me hit another one, then I'll see Gary's question. So one of the cool things that, so Linda asked about the National RV Training Academy. Lori can probably speak to this. So it may not be the same thing, but one of the gentlemen there presenting was a gentleman, Phil LaGracia. I think it was CEO of RVIA. So guys, Kurt of RVIA. And Lori and I had a discussion with him afterward. He presented about training technicians. Apparently there's now a process for having technicians trained to an industry standard. And we're contemplating having him come and talking to our group also at some point. Lori, do you want to expand on that at all?
Yeah, so there's 2 things with RVIA, which is, of course, the Directional Vehicle Institute of America, but 2 things for training of technicians. With the new factory in Jackson Center, they devoted a whole section for training service technicians. So they reach out to the dealers. The dealers will send their technicians to the mothership, the factory, and they have bays where they bring in and they work on technicians. So that's number 1, that Airstream Inc. is working on that. Number 2, through the RVIA tech program, they are doing a ton of stuff, just not for those that are professionally in the tech industry, but for those that are travelers that are on the road all the time. So we talked a lot about trying to maybe do some webinars or some internal training within the club to reach out and to see what they could offer us and offer our people for being on the road.
Thanks, Lori. And Gary asked a question about service also before we go back to caravans. So I found this really interesting. So Airstream, it turns out, is part of their 5 Rivet award program for service. They know how many Airstreams are in the road through their, I'll call it DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles registrations. They know how many Airstreams are on the road located in a certain geography. They actually look at those numbers, and they will tell a dealer, I forget what the metric is, but the dealer has to have the capacity to serve a certain percent of the vehicle, of the Airstreams registered on the road in that area to be qualified for 5 Rivet. So for example, there's 100,000, well, if there's 5,000 RVs in the greater Bay Area of California, there's some certain percentage a dealer capacity has to be for service to be eligible for the 5 Rivet. So they're really looking at, are the service bays overwhelmed? So I'm not trying to make excuses for Airstream. I think everyone understands that the pandemic had just record growth in trailer Airstream sales across the board. Now what's happening is that those rigs are coming back to the service centers, and the service centers are overwhelmed. And there's also the sort of the parts issue is getting resolved. And so there's a bump. It's kind of like, you talk about a snake that swallowed a rabbit. Sorry about that. It takes its way to work its way through. It does.
All right. So let me jump in there.
Okay, maybe not a rabbit. How about a squirrel?
Let me jump in there. So on top of that, they are incentivizing, Airstream Inc. is incentivizing dealers to service any Airstream on the road, just not who was sold. And again, this all rolls back to this 5 rivet program. They're aware of it, they're working on it. So I don't think there's anything we could take to Airstream Inc. that they don't already know in regards to service. They know it, they're on it. So I'm confident that as they work through these, because we all know some places you get better service than others. So that is definitely a big deal in their book.
Yeah, thank you.
Without swallowing the rabbit. So I see somebody posted something about Illumapalooza. We do not run Illumapalooza, just FYI. Our great friends over at R&B Events run that. So I'm assuming, I think they're en route to Jackson Center, but they have an email, info@R&B Events, and I believe from their website they also have some more information. So if y'all want to check that out there.
Thank you.
All
So
right.
questions about wait lists for caravans. Maybe hit those quickly, then we'll move on.
Okay, so each individual caravan leader, they hold their own wait list for their caravans. And again, it is a crazy process. If you guys can imagine, these are all volunteers, and they try to maintain it and keep the thing rolling. So is there an acknowledgement, periodic updates? That is all up to the caravan leader, the particular caravan, on how much information they pass on to who's in the wait list and where you are on the wait list. And I know the whole team there was working on trying to find some, I don't know if John Becker's on the line, some universal way of keeping people updated, or a more visual way. I saw some chatter about that, but I believe they're still working on that.
Okay, and the last thing about service, one of the things that came out of this partnership with Airstream Inc. Is that they would like to get consolidated feedback from us, so that they get a lot of comments on sales and on service, mainly on service. One of the values of our club, and this will be talking about at the International Board of Trustees, Airstream Inc. asked us for some help. And one thing we'll probably be doing is asking the region presidents to aggregate the information. So for example, let's say someone's let's say California, because I live in California. The Region 12 president may reach out and say, okay, what are some of the things that we're seeing, the problematic dealerships, the good dealerships, the issues we're seeing in our region? And then I'm going to ask region presidents to bring this all together. And then when we go back to Jackson Center in March, we're going to have a session with Airstream again, and we'll talk about, here's what we're seeing from our regions. And you can imagine, if you're Airstream Inc. at the executive senior level, and this is their VP of sales, VP of service, Rick March. We talked to him when we were there. It's nice to get some prioritized feedback, or some region specific feedback from 12 people versus 18,000. So because of this partnership, we're in a position now to aggregate some feedback on dealers, regional issues potentially, and get that feedback back to Airstream in a very structured and hopefully actionable way. This is completely new. We've never had this channel before. We did a little bit of it in Jackson Center last year, but it wasn't structured. We didn't know we should be polling our region people to find out what the issues were. So Gary, that's kind of the plan there. We'll be talking about it a little bit tomorrow, probably, and probably our next meeting as well, on how to get that feedback at the region level. Go ahead.
And also, I would make comment to Gary that, and I don't have it right here in front of me, but there is a service email that you need to, if you're having that issue in Buffalo, you need to email that to service, and then they will escalate it up through the channels. That would get you further than anything else right now.
Yeah, and if you don't have it already, we almost certainly have the general manager of that dealership information, contact information. So okay, let's move on from service, because I really want to talk a little bit more about other things that we can control in the club a little bit. So Lori, I just asked you to share a little bit about 2023, Rally 2023, what we learned from it, and some tidbits from the survey. I can share some of the survey results if you like. The board has it. The International Board of Trustees has it in their packet for tomorrow's meeting. But what are your thoughts, and what did you all learn?
What we learned was that it's an amazing event, right? If we had more spaces, I think we could have got more people in there, but we couldn't. So it was a great event. I feel like the structure We got a lot of positive feedback from the exit survey. Of course, we asked everybody attending to please fill it out because we do review them. And we learned that they loved the food truck option because it gave everybody the chamber bucks we use for those that were there. So instead of having a meal where we can't, take care of all of our members like we like to, like a big group meal, because it's never easy to serve 2,500 people, is the food, the bucks that we did. So we partner with the local chamber and we gave gift certificates. So you could either have a dinner right there on the grounds with one of the food trucks, or you could go into town and use them at either one of their shops or one of the restaurants. So that was a huge success. And we hope to mirror that at the future rally sites. And we also learned that we asked, when can we go back? When would people be comfortable going back to Rock Springs? And that was a 4-year, that was overwhelming answer there. And then just more positive feedback about the structure and the different events to go see, the seminars and the VAC dance and all those fun things that were there. So leading out of 23, of course, August 1st is when we started the sales for Sedalia, which will be in October of 24. And we're already around 700 registrations right now. And that's been 20, I don't even know, 25 days, 24 days, 23 days. We have 700 registrations. So we're super excited and we expect to probably get sold out there before the end of the year. And we can accommodate up to 1,500 rigs in Sedalia. And me and the team will be there in October to finalize our plans, as well as they may be doing some expansion. So if they do, I want to get that numbers to continue to push to see. I mean, of course, my goal is to make it the biggest rally that we can make, right? Let's get as many people there as we can. So that's kind of the rally update at this point.
So let me we actually have a survey, wrong one. Try to share this again. So this, Larry, while I'm bringing it up, if you can let people know where the survey is located, because it's in the board packet. While I'm trying to find it here online /IBT. Okay, I think you can see this now, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm with you.
So this is, we're having an International Board of Trustees meeting tomorrow, just coincidentally. And as part of the board packet, which is posted on airstreamclub.org/IBT, this document is there. And so I'm not going to go through it, but you can see, so 1 to 10, 3,700 responses, sort of how'd you like it? They liked it. How soon would you recommend going back to Sweetwater events? We're looking at 4 years to 5 years, looks like on average. How many rallies have you gone to? So a lot of first timers. This has not been a surprise to us. This is the case the last few years I can remember, actually. There's a lot of first timers. Age bracket. This isn't quite accurate because we know we had a lot of kids there. I think the kids didn't fill out the survey, so the parents didn't put out the kids in there. Length of the rally, how well communicated, were you able to find information, how many presentations did you attend, were they interesting or not? We were really concerned about the rally schedule because we get feedback that it's too busy, it's not too busy. And this seems to feel that for most responses, it was about right. 53% of the people said it was about, 80% of the people said it was about right. People enjoyed the camping experience by and large. As Lori said, the food trucks, people seem to like that quite a bit. There's some data on favorite parts, the program, the website, the Groupio app. The arrival experience is really, really important for us. We, especially, me, but staff does too. We understand that we've been traveling for hours or weeks to get to this place. And the first interaction with our club happens when you pull up into the bullpen or rally arrival area. We really want that to be a positive experience. And by the way, some of us, when we pull up to that site, we've had road troubles, we're a little bit grumpy. And we tell people that are manning the front, you got to be okay with that, right? These people have been traveling for weeks. They may be having a bad day this last day. Be polite, welcome them to. So we're really happy to see that the arrival experience was good. That includes arrival and parking. We care about the opening ceremony. It seemed to be regarded quite nicely. Welcoming dinner. The downtown Rock Springs Day. What happened was there was a weather thing that happened. And I think we need a better job of talking about that if we did again in the future. Anyway, I'll stop there, but you get the idea. Feel free to go online to that site and get the information. All righty, let's see how we're doing on questions. Oh, we don't have very many open questions. Keep going down the list.
We have a new member that's going to Sedalia. Yay! Can't wait for you to
Yay!
get there. You know, as we work with the dealers, and one of the things we talk about a lot is we feel one of the important things about our new members and when they join is to get them to an event. I hope everybody kind of has the same mentality that it is. I mean, I want them to find their people. I want them to find their tribe. I want them to find their club, whatever you want to call it, their extended family. But to get them to that point, we need to get them in that Airstream, get them to a rally, whether it be international, region, club, venture club, whatever it may be, but get them there and get them to enjoy themselves and learn about that camaraderie that we have in the club. And that is so somewhat hard to market, right? I mean, it's hard for us to say, trust us, just come to the rally. You'll love us. So we're getting there.
Okay, Lori, next I want to answer Lisa's question first, but I want to go into, as some of you probably know, we had a redesigned Blue Beret magazine on last month. I hope you all liked it, but we're also having some upcoming changes in that. But first I want to address your question, Lisa. And Lisa asked about the caravan. So one of the initiatives that we came up with in our strategy session in May was we really have to figure out a way to offer shorter caravans and more caravans. The caravans are one of the areas in which we are capacity limited because, as Lori said, they're volunteer led. And so it's like getting any volunteer to host a rally. It's just really hard to do. And so John Becker, our international caravan chair, has been working for a while now to figure out how do we put on shorter caravans. We don't necessarily call these for working people, but when I was working, it would have been great. A 5-day caravan, a 2-week caravan. The problem isn't that we don't know where to go. The problem isn't that we don't know how to structure them. The problem is getting enough volunteers to volunteer to lead a caravan and then train them. It's a big deal. So if anyone's interested in leading a caravan, reach out to me or reach out to John Becker. We're considering things, and we'll be talking about this our next strategy session about how do we develop potentially some third-party caravans. Our club has had a history of doing some third-party ones also, and we may use that to expand our capacity, to augment our capacity on caravans. One thing that I think a lot of people didn't know, which I found out speaking to a new friend of mine in Washington, is that when the club started, the factory Airstream actually used to put on a lot of the big caravans. It wasn't our club. It was Airstream put them on. And in fact, there's a lady, Darlene, I won't say her last name. She's out of the Washington area. She has number 29, I think, a big red number 29. I was like, how did you get that? Because that's reserved for Airstream Inc. employees or past employees. And she says, well, she was the director of caravans for Airstream. And she's been on and led probably 20 something caravans around the world. It's just fantastic. We're going to try to get her profiled in one of the upcoming articles. But Airstream as a factory doesn't put on our caravans anymore. It's all done by our members. And that's Lori Grassi, Darlene is a legend. By the way, Darlene is my sort of moonshine drinking buddy right now as well. Third-party caravan, Steve, sorry, the lingo. It means offered by someone, not a club member. I don't know why it's third party, but it's just a term. So for example, there have been some in the past that are put on by caravan groups to Mexico or other places where we don't have the ability to put them on, or international caravans. But the thought is that to augment our member-led caravans, let's look into some that are offered by a group that does it. And some of you probably know this. There's a number of groups that put on essentially caravans, but we like to get some that are dedicated just for our club. So we're taking a look at that because it's a big deal. All righty, Lori, I'm going to switch to you. Fighting Dindy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love the fact we have 130. Sorry, my glasses are off. 135 people today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're here for you. So if you guys do have any questions, throw them out there. Not, we'll continue with the entertainment portion of this broadcast.
Okay.
So back to the Blue Beret.
Right.
There we go. So as Eric mentioned, I hope everybody saw the September issue of the Blue Beret. We kind of did another redesign of it, just to bring it into our, as we'd say, our brand standards, right? And to make sure people know who we are today and what is happening. So along with that, we're also going to be the months the Blue Beret is not published. You're going to be receiving what we call the Blue Beret bulletin, which will be more of a newsletter that you'll be able to read easily on your phone or your tablet or whatever that is, as well as then going to a blog. So we had the blog that we launched. When did we launch that?
We soft launched it right before Wyoming, so it was like May or June, I believe. But
Yeah.
it was formally launched about a month ago, so to speak. I can put it up to share, by the way you talk about it.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. So here's another, today's world is so different in communication. So we're trying to stay relevant and stay in process to help people communicate, learn about the rigs or whatever is going on. So Eric's showing the Blue Beret blog right now, which is basically dedicated stories that are going to be coming off of our bulletin and other in between the publication days of the printed Blue Beret. So we've got it broke down between club news, destination, education, gear, history, events, and other stories. So we're going to continue work on populating this. So this will be another avenue for us to communicate with our members, whatever we are trying to communicate with them.
The cool thing about it also, this is how our club, I think, is acting different than we ever had before. We're actually bringing in content from third parties. So some of you know Air Gear. They're a provider. They're actually club members, good friends of the club. They've got a bunch of articles that they agreed that we can put back up here. And so, for example, there's a great article from Air Gear about, give your tool bag a hookup, troubleshooting, 36 things every Airstreamer can carry. There's Tathy over there on the right-hand side. So we're trying to put these little bits of information up there. Airstream Inc. does it. A lot of organizations do it. And the beauty is that if you copy the URL of here, you could actually paste it into social media or put it into your club newsletter. Like people are asking me rally events in that tab. There's an article about the International Rally, right? A lot of great pictures and stuff, information about it. And you could actually, instead of trying to write this from scratch in your club newsletter, just copy this URL and paste it in and people can go directly to it. So it's a nice thing. We're replicating President's Corner stuff in there. This was the Potlatch rally Roberta and I went to in Washington State just recently. So it's a pretty neat place to have news that's easy to get to on a mobile phone. It's very mobile friendly too.
And Eric, if you could pull that one back up, and I'd like to just point out there on the side of the potlatch, you just did the potlatch, I think it was. So one thing is we try to get so Mark is the one who wrote. Mark is again from Arkansas, from our Razorbacks, right? So Mark is also the chair of the National Event Rally Committee. So he's the one who actually wrote this article. And as y'all get comfortable and used to seeing this blog, you're going to see things of this nature where you can see exactly who the author is. And then there on the right, you'll see the related topics and things of that nature. So we sure hope this will become a benefit for everybody, for them to, they're looking for something in particular, a helpful resource for them.
There's some great articles that Joe Poplinski, our club historian, has written also about some of the past caravans. Just fascinating, some of this stuff. So I love it. I hope you guys you start to enjoy it. You don't have to be web savvy. It just works. And the way you find it is that if you go to airstreamclub.org, we're going to move it around. There's a project to redesign our website, by the way, but it's under Explore and Blue Beret blog right there. So, all righty. Let's see what we have on questions. So Bob Grimes, I asked about it. Why can't a caravan be duplicated and run at the same time? Bob, simply because volunteers.
It's
Sure.
volunteers, as well as, normally they will book campgrounds and stuff out almost 3 years in advance. It's just like the rest of the world. When somebody's trying to get a campsite, right? It's not that easy. So there's a lot of factors that go in. Some of the caravans can't be ran because of weather, things of that nature. I see Charlie, you said if there's a way to do a survey on a dealership, no, but again, I would encourage, not that I'm aware of, if they don't reach out to you individually or send you a survey, I would recommend, again, using the general customer service link at Airstream Inc. to pass that information on, with your experience, good or bad, too. So Airstream Inc. is aware of what's happening.
Ginger Slattery, Region 7 President. Full hookups in York, Pennsylvania.
Yes, yes, 50 amp sewer. Yes, water. There will be full hookups there.
So I will share with you all that I've talked to people who've been in the club for much longer than I. It used to be that when you pulled up to one of these huge international rallies, you know, back in the 50s and 60s, you had maybe 3 amps of electrical, and you didn't have sewer, you didn't have water, or maybe there's a water truck that filled you up. Nowadays, and I think this is one of the reasons why Wyoming sold out so quickly, a lot of our members, they really like the comfort of having full hookups. And so we are trying to respond to that to the extent that we can and find places with full hookups. So it's something we're trying to do in the future. If we don't have full hookups, we've committed that we'll at least have 30 amps, a good solid 30 amp to be able to run air conditioners. And of course, if any of you have been to an international rally, you know, the idea of having pump outs is not a big deal. You don't even have to be there. You just get pumped out. And we almost always have water coming into the side of the trailer.
Yeah. So one of the things that Christy pointed out to me, and she's helping us go through these questions, we accidentally dismissed a question. It wasn't a question, it was a statement to say how great Tom and Vicky Ketchum are. They are caravan leaders. They also are great rally, international rally volunteers. So Tom and Vicky, if you're on here, anybody knows them, we did not intentionally dismiss them. We know they do a fantastic job at helping this club. And actually they are the caravan leaders of the Motherlode caravan. So just wanted to point that out.
I want to point out Bob Younger had a funny question about thanks for the photograph of smiling Wally.
Yeah,
it's a big deal, you know. And I think I know when we first looked at joining the club, there was this somewhat dour looking Wally, you know, and it was a small thing, but we thought, you know, our club is full of fun now. Let's have a fun picture of Wally, because I understand he was a fun guy. I talked to people that had been around him, and he was supposed to be quite the character, apparently.
Yeah. So I want to touch on Dan in regards to the dog and the rally site. So typically, no, we don't have larger sites available, because when our team goes into a site, these last year and this coming year is a little different because they have full hookups. But what we do is we try to maximize the power and the water, since we have such a challenge of getting enough spaces for our members to arrive. So no, we don't. There's some other alternatives though. I mean, you can always buy a week pass if you want to camp someplace else, like close to the rally site, and you can do walk-ins and things of that nature. So those options are available to you out there. Eric, did you want to talk about courtesy parking? Boy, it's getting late. This is my first one.
Yeah, I do. So courtesy parking, if y'all don't know it, that's where we have about 800 of our members who have some room on their property, and they make it available through our club website for club members to spend a night during travels. No hookups usually, and it's great. It's one of the benefits of our club that a lot of our members either don't use or don't know about or don't use. We know that. And at our strategy session with the board last year in May, we talked a lot about courtesy parking and how to make that easier to use. There's a term now, you see it a lot, it's called frictionless, right? It's like, how do you make an action or using a benefit or a service easy to use without thinking about it? Right now, I would argue that using our courtesy parking map for members is not frictionless. It's a little complicated. And so I can't go into it, but we're exploring a partnership with an external company to greatly improve the satisfaction of using our courtesy parking. That answers part of your question, Fred. No, it's because it's individuals, there's no real protocol other than you should not expect to stay more than one night unless you are offered that. And the process for signing up is that you go to our website, airstreamclub.org. There's a thing there for courtesy parking, one of the tabs. I can bring it up if you guys want to see it. In fact, Lori, can you bring it up or you want me to bring up the courtesy parking?
If you could, that would be fantastic.
I'll do it. Okay, and then you contact the member and they will say, yeah, I can come, you can come or not. They'll probably ask you how big is your Airstream, and they'll probably tell you if they're booked, and they may give you some more information how to get to their house. Let me bring it up in a
So while you're bringing that up, I'm gonna touch on Fred's question about volunteering, and I'm assuming you're talking about the international rally. So as we work on the outline and our needs, and we recruit our chairs of the committees, when we know what our needs are, then we will start kind of what I'd say advertising that or making the membership aware of that. Once that happens, then you would deal directly with your committee chair, and then early arrival just depends upon what committee you're on. There's only a handful maybe that is required to come in early, and the rest of them normally come in right around when the days as the rally gets started.
Okay, I got the courtesy park. Let me share that. By the way, it's required to log in because this is, information that, we don't want the outside club members to have. Okay. So let me get my window out of the way. So under current members, you pull down, I'm not sure you can see the pull down, but it's called courtesy parking. I'm already logged in. So it shows me the US. Let's say that I'm going through, I don't know, Colorado. And I click on a place, and this is Deborah Edel. And so here's her phone number, here's her email address.
Poor Deborah. She has no idea we're all going to show up on our front doorstep, does she?
And the nice thing is that she's put a comment available June to September only.
Yeah.
And so you would just email Deborah and say, hey, look, I'm Eric, I'm going to be coming through there in a couple of days. Can I stay at your spot? It's as simple as that. And then you get email response. I would argue this isn't that hard to use, but I do know from talking to a lot of members that we can improve the experience, particularly with respect to routing. So if you use Harvest Host, you use that program, it's really good because you can say, I'm going on Highway 80 between here and here, and show me the Harvest Host properties within 5 miles of my route. We're looking at enabling things like that, and also having some more information or what we call attributes about the site. So when you get into a city, if I'm coming into Denver, I look at these people here, I'd look at them and I'd say, well, Arvada, it may be busy. It may be hard time getting my trailer there. Do they have parking? So I would typically bring up an aerial of Street View and maps. It looks like this is probably okay. So, but those are some of the questions our members have, which are a little bit barriers to using it. So we're trying to improve that experience because it's a great experience to use courtesy parking. And you can save a ton of money and you have a fun time too.
Absolutely.
Okay. Look back at the Q&A.
All right, Lindy, I see Lindy Wilson. I see your note that you sent a question a few days ago. I did not see your question in the participation. I don't know what email you sent it to, but I will definitely look for that and get back with you on your question or comments that you had on that one. Margaret, thank you for your comments on the Blue Beret, and we will suggest the heavier font to our design team as well.
Okay, LID Gara. I don't know. Gara, I'm not sure if that's an abbreviation. He or she asked about why aren't WBCCI big red numbers required? We had a big discussion in the Board of Trustees about this probably 4 months ago. And the answer was, look, we'd love to have you display them. We understand that some members don't want to put it on their trailer or Airstream for a variety of reasons, personal security, whatever. But if there's a particular event that needs them to be on there, we'll ask you to put them on. For example, a friend of mine is going on a caravan, and the caravan leader said, because of road safety issues and losing people along the way, roadside identification, you have to have your big red numbers on. So she's putting them on. At the International Rally in Wyoming, we said that we're strongly encouraged, and there's a reason for that. If you're trying to park 400 trailers a day, which is what we do sometimes, it's really nice to be able to see the rig red number when they're pulling into the arrival area. And that way that our parkers and arrival people, they can see the big red number coming into the parking lot, and they can grab the material for you when you arrive and walk up to your truck with your arrival packet. as opposed to no big red number. They have to walk up to the truck, which could be way down the line, say, what's your big red number? You may or may not know it, believe it or not. They have to go back, get the paper, go back again. So there are specific cases that we are asking people to display them. And again, this was addressed quite lengthily by the region presidents about 4 months ago. All right, Facebook page. You want to talk on that one, Lori? A private Facebook page looks like.
Well, hey, I was going to answer Roberta asking how many members are required to start a local club, and that's 10. The number is 10, whatever region you're in. If you're interested in starting a local club, if you could work with your region officers, they will be more than happy to help you make that happen. Hi, Misty Roach. She's in charge of Future Streamers, our intra club. I see she posted in 2025 a kid-friendly, working family-friendly smidge of the Ridge.
Yes.
Yeah, good for you, Misty. Thank you for volunteering for the club and making that stuff happen.
So I got to give shouts out to Misty. And this is what I love about our volunteers. Misty, don't get a big head, by the way, but Misty came with an idea. I don't know, Lori, it was probably 2 or 3 years ago, and saying, hey, you know, we do not have a lot of activities or organizations in our club for people traveling with kids, be they grandparents, godparents, or direct kids. Can I organize something? It's like, yeah. So she founded and organized a group called Future Streamers. It's been very successful. And at the International Rally in Wyoming, you know, Misty worked with us for probably 1.5 years to structure a whole bunch of events, working with Corey, our families and members chair, to put a whole bunch of events. So if you were at Wyoming, you probably for the first time in a long time, International Rally, saw a bunch of kids running around, kid programs. We parked them in a certain area in the back next to a field. They could play together. The parents could do what they do when their kids are playing. It was phenomenal. So kudos, Missy, to that work. I think we're going to see a lot more young adults and kids on future events. So thank you. Thank you for volunteering.
Yeah, so addressing the private Facebook page for members, Kendall, if we could crack that nut, we would. So it's such a double-edged sword, right? So the community discussion page was started years ago by a member, and then it was transferred over to HQ for management. So we are constantly looking to see if a private page with only members would be beneficial, or if we're going to continue to keep it open for those that own Airstreams or are still looking. You know, that's one of the I mentioned to Eric, sometimes I think we're missing some opportunities for those people that are really interested in purchasing Airstreams and getting involved in the Airstream lifestyle. But we just don't quite have that answer yet, but we are constantly looking at it.
Yeah, I would agree, Kendall, because you know that there are sometimes people on our Facebook page that are not Airstream owners, and they're just sort of out there trolling people, and it's not that great.
Yeah.
I want to answer Ginger's question, just another big red numbers question. She brings up a really good point. So at any event, and I will say particularly with our age demographic, by the way, I'm 65, so I count also. It's not unexpected with 2,000 people there that there are going to be some medical things. We've had people get hurt with their trailers, fall off of steps, you name it, right? When that happens, the big red numbers are really nice to have, but what's even nicer to have is that when you call 911, I don't care where you are, if you're at home or in the woods, the person who answers that telephone is going to want to know, where are you? And so we tell our members that if you're in a rally, regardless of big red numbers or not, they want to know, first of all, yeah, I'm at the corner of Elm and First, or on a rally, I'm by the building, by the flagpoles in the upper lot, or I'm near site number 38, or I'm near the restroom on that side. And one of the things that I think a lot of people don't know is that for these big facilities, law enforcement trains there on a regular basis because they have concerts and other huge events. They know the facilities really well. So if you tell if you tell a first responder, yeah, there's a medical emergency by the porta potties down by the dog park, I guarantee you they know where that is. We may not, because we're not locals. But it also, to Ginger's point, it does help to have big red numbers because we communicate with, oh, hey, there's an incident, BRN 153, they had a problem, they're up by the outhouse. So yeah, totally right, Ginger. It is very helpful to have. And in fact, that's why they require them on caravans. We only have 6 more minutes. And what we do typically is that we let you all go at the time, but we'll hang around for another 15 minutes. There's more questions.
Yeah, so I want to address Lindy Wilson's question. Thank you for typing it out, but yes. So it is a
Can you
common practice.
restate the
Oh,
question?
so Lindy's question is that it's possible for Canadians to pay for all caravans with a credit card through HQ, through the office. And yes, it is. Actually, it's for everybody on a caravan. If you have a deposit that needs to be paid or anything of that nature, you can always call HQ and anybody there can take your caravan payment by a credit card. Obviously, you just need to make sure your credit card is able to do international transactions, being in Canada, and us in the US. So yes, that is something as a common thing that we do, trying to support the caravans. So thank you for that question.
I want to follow up. I typed an answer to Ginger. It may have gone away. I've been asked a lot is that, hey, I understand, Eric, that you say you're trying to encourage young kids to come, but yet we're having a rally in October and in August, international rally. Yeah, the problem we face, and we're looking for help, by the way, is that it's really hard these days with the weather we're having in our country to have a weather event in the summertime. It's really, really hard. I think if most of you look outside right now, you would say, I would not want to be having a rally right now, and certainly not in June or July. And so in years past, the weather wasn't as hot. It's hot now. We understand that. I've had people say, well, Eric, all of our trailers, our rigs have air conditioning. Well, guess what? If you're at a place for 7 days, you don't want to spend your time indoors for 7 days in your trailer. So our challenge when we plan these things, and we're looking for great ideas, I'm serious, is that we have to balance the weather and the fact that we have a whole bunch of Airstreams coming to some place. And that's often in their peak season, right? Because if you talk about a fairgrounds, the summer is peak season for a fairgrounds, just historically. And so those are some of the challenges we have. And so we're experimenting in Sedalia for having it in October. We'll see how it goes. For York, it's in August, I think.
It's in August.
Yes. If we return to Wyoming, because of the elevation, it's 6,300 feet elevation. We're able to do it in the middle of the summer or early summer, like we did this last time. So that's the challenge. And we've had a history of having some very, very hot international rallies, and it's just not fun for our members. So that's the balance we're trying to make. Will these questions be sent out by email? Laura, how you want to handle that?
We have not in the past. That is not something we've done, but something definitely we can consider. Maybe doing a recap of it, and posting it along with the video. This video will be posted on our YouTube channel in the next couple of days. Okay,
so Ray has a question. Thank you, Ray. Ray's heavily involved in our caravans. Thank you so much for all your work there. He mentioned just to mention the caravan leaders classes. I keep going back to the fact that what limits our ability to deliver caravans is volunteers. That's it, period. We would have twice as many if we could. So Ray and the caravan folks, they put on classes for how to be a caravan leader. And they typically will send you out with an experienced caravanner. So you're kind of like a caravan, deputy, if you will, for the first 1 or 2, and then you can do your own. So I highly encourage people who want to volunteer. It's a fun gig. I'd love to do it also as well. So thanks, Ray, for everything you do on the caravan side.
Yeah, and for those two, I see Lewis and Lindy. I see that some feedback that some of the leaders told you that we weren't able to process credit cards. So I'm not sure what that miscommunication is there, but I will definitely follow up with John Becker on that issue. But we are set up to do that to support the caravans. Mark Kerr is asking, will caravan scouting fees be available for 2024? That is not up to me or Eric. That is a John Becker question, and his team or Ray, they're within the caravan committee of what they will allow for whatever you're doing there as on the caravans.
Well, how about that? It's 2 minutes for the hour, and we've actually completed all of our questions.
Oh, nope. Frank just threw it out
come
there.
On, man. Where are you? So, by the way, Frank's a buddy of mine also, and we had a great time hanging out up in Washington. Every time I look at his Facebook page, he's eating some really fun food. I wish I was with him. Okay, so Frank asked a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Frank, yeah, a club or I'm not talking about, I'm talking about national caravans, anything that's ran by the international club, the national caravans is what credit cards are available for. Absolutely, we will do that. So. And yeah,
I think
Lindy, I'll follow up with you. We'll see what we can do there. That's for sure. And the reason why we started doing the credit card processing for caravans is primarily a convenience for folks. It's much easier for that to happen.
Okay, so I'm gonna just honor your all's time, and we're gonna wrap now. And yeah, more credit card stuff and things like that. Agreed. So we have 103-ish local clubs. And in as much as people accuse me of being a corporate guy, which I sometimes am, I suppose, the local clubs have a lot of leeway in how they run their local clubs. And they have a lot of good reasons, or some reasons that aren't quite resolved yet. So reach out to your local club. Denny, I know you do this already. You encourage them along the path. Denny's done a great job at his local club, and also with our WBCCI Foundation as well, helping to modernize them. If you look at the foundation's WBCCI Foundation page, Denny was one of the key people behind the way that looks right now and the processes they use. So keep up the good work, man. I really appreciate it. All right, we're going to sign off now. We're going to hang out for the 5 minutes, but everyone else, thank you very much and have a good rest of your evening.
Don and
Oh,
Lee,
go ahead.
yes. So we had some staff changes recently in the international rally. So that program of the switch has hit a road bump. But you'll hear something next week to 2 weeks at the most of getting back to getting all those emails switched over.
All right, see y'all, Frank. Thanks much. I will see you in, I don't know, somewhere in a few months. So thanks, buddy. Thanks for joining. Hey, Toffee, thanks for joining as well. Cheryl, Eric here. So that's awesome. So thank you much. Nancy and Ed, oh, thank you. Thank you. We have a good time doing them. It's really fun. It's really fun. All right, I think we're going to sign off now. I think we're kind of
Yeah, because those on the West Coast will be back in a couple hours.
Totally. Region 9 in Gonzales. That's right. We're going to hang out there, man. All right, y'all have a good evening.
We'll see how that goes. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.